All right, welcome back to the Retention Edge podcast. I've got Andrew Maffetone. Am I pronouncing it right, Andrew?
We'll go with it. Yeah.
Well, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, man. Appreciate you joining, man. I think we've got an interesting conversation kind of ahead. Uh, why don't we kick it off? Give everyone kind of like a quick background, quick intro on yourself, and then we'll jump into everything from there.
Yeah. So Andrew Maffetone, but I usually just do math
Maffetone.
because that
Okay,
happens a lot.
close enough.
I've been in e-commerce digital marketing for I think 16, 17 years at this point, somewhere in there. I've owned several different agencies. I'm the founder currently of Blue Tusker, full service marketing firm. This is my third agency. I've been in-house at multiple 7 and 8 figure brands as pretty much the only marketer. I've got my own podcast, the Ecom Show. Uh, yeah. What else can I tell you?
I guess what are the big
Basically.
focuses at the moment? I guess what are you really focused on with the agency? What are you really focused on personally? I guess so let's start there.
Focus on the agency. So it's, I mean, I don't know when this will go out, but as of recording, it's kind of like late August. So we're deep into trying to wrap up Q4 planning. Well, let me rephrase. We're deep into wrapping up Q4 planning. A lot of the brands we work with, even though we've tried for months, everyone likes to wait until the last minute. So we're trying to get people to make their decisions now. So that's kind of a big focus of ours. Our kind of approach. We work a lot with brands that sell on multiple different sales channels, whether it's Amazon or TikTok or Shopify or whatever. And while we act as full service, everyone internally is specialized in their area. So it's kind of like getting an entire fractional marketing department that all has specialists, which is fantastic. But it's also having a lot of people that have to communicate together. So
Hmm.
we really specialize in working with brands that want to develop more omni-channel strategies. So we work with brands to not only grow, let's say, their Amazon business, but find ways to grow off Amazon or how to use off Amazon marketing to grow on Amazon. And so getting all those different kind of things to work together is always a fun little battle. So that's always going into Q4. It also allows us to be a lot more creative on where we're sending people and why we're sending them there and stuff like that.
Makes sense. And so obviously you're in the middle of kind of trying to get everyone prepped for BFCM. Nobody's ready to actually start doing that yet. They're going to come to you middle October or something like that. Be like, hey, I want to do these 18 different things alongside all your other clients. I guess uh, with the clients that you're working with right now, like kind of trying to get ahead of the storm there. What's different about this BFCM versus what you might have seen a couple years ago? Like, what are you trying to get brands to do differently in today's time and age versus what you might have been recommending in the past?
Um, I would honestly, it's not too different from what I've recommended in the past. It's more of this year. It's actually a lot more relevant. I'm not a huge fan of like massive discounts. I think it's a horrible way to basically really inflate revenue, but not do much of anything for profit. And while revenue is the one thing that everyone loves to talk about, it is the world's most famous vanity metric. It doesn't really matter if it's bringing you nothing. So I try to work with brands to find uh, more creative ways to really stand out and have some type of promotion or something for Black Friday,
Mhm.
but not make it like, oh, we're doing an 80% off sale. Cause then the issue becomes a few things. A, you're not going to be very profitable. B, especially if you do really big sales, it actually becomes kind of odd. And so the consumer actually thinks it's like, oh, these things are probably cheap and you're just giving them away. So then they don't purchase. And then the other issue becomes then people start to expect it. So it can really hurt the brand. And so they
Yep.
just sit around waiting for these massive deals. And then the other issue becomes it tends to be the brands that like to do those really big sales. It's typically because from the top down, it's people that really like to inflate their revenue and make it look awesome. And so they really, really focus on Q4. And then they don't really care at all about Q1. They just want to focus on getting as much money during that time as possible. And I think it's a massive mistake because you bring in so much net new business during Q4 that you have to find ways to continue to retain them and stay and educate them and entertain them and provide value to them so that they continue to purchase with you through 2026. I see Q4 as an amazing customer acquisition time period to set you up for success in the following year, not necessarily like this is when we're going to make all of our money. I'd rather it be more profitable and still bring in people that I know I can convert into the following year. This year, it's absolutely the same. I've said it. That's been my approach for years, just because like I've seen so many brands. It almost seems like a desperation move to do like 60% off or whatever.
Hmm.
But this year, Amazon's middle of the year Prime Day, the one that they did in what was it, like July? Some of the numbers that came out of that made me realize like, okay, this Q4 that's going to have to be the case, because while they did see increases in revenue year over year, and a lot of people still shop during Prime Day, what they also noted was, I think it was the average discount across all products last year was like 26, 27%, like that. This year it was down to like, I think it was 23. So
Hmm.
it's not a huge difference, but it tells you that a lot of brands couldn't do the big discounts because of tariffs and things like that. So my guess is we're going to see something pretty similar in Q4. And luckily, a lot of the brands we worked with, we kind of already positioned like, hey, let's not give up an arm and a leg to get a sale this year. Let's try to make it profitable and just come up with like creative ways to get them to come back again, or get them to buy multiple things. But like,
Hmm.
I think that's going to be something that's kind of interesting this year to see how people react because of inflation and tariffs and all that fun stuff.
Look, I mean, you're so right. Like, revenue is the kind of ultimate vanity metric because it doesn't actually mean anything. If you're losing money on every single order, what does the revenue actually matter? So outside of discounting, which, like you said, is going to be more probably a little bit more difficult to do this year because of tariffs, because of all these external factors. What are the different strategies that you're kind of recommending your clients? And obviously, we can break it down into like different segments, right? Obviously, it's different if you're a washing machine dryer
Yeah.
seller versus a, clothing brand. What are some of the main kind of strategies you're kind of advising your clients to take on to remove themselves from just doing the big, okay, 20, 30, 40, 50% discounts and everything?
Um, one of the big things that's the easiest one is to make sure that we're doing the math correctly and then figuring out more like tiered promotions. Like I'm a big fan of spend X get Y kind of thing, and then start doing the math on, okay, average product margin. If they spend this much, that means that you should be getting this much in profit. How much are we okay with giving up? Okay, that's how much cash you'll get in your hands, right? So then we got to factor in, all right, maybe we've got like a 10% of that goes towards advertising. So let's look at that. Then we look at, okay, now let's say we're doing spend $200. So okay, let's do the math on that. So making sure ahead of time that it makes sense, because way too many brands are just like, I don't know, give them 10% off, and they're like, okay, but like, do you make money on that or do you not? So figuring out the specifics of that. Um, then it's the other stuff, like the more creative things. Like we've one of my favorite things to do, because it works out for us too, is having uh multiple brands that we're working with work together and actually do like partnership deals where if you buy this, we'll send you a coupon for this company kind of thing, and you can actually go shop somewhere else, and then they kind of do it hand in hand. So it's a little bit more like they're not entirely giving up the percentage, but they're bringing business to the other partner, and obviously vice versa. And it's obviously got to be like complementary brands and things like that. Great way for like people to kind of share customers for the most part. Then you get into kind of in more inflated rewards programs if they hop into a reward program. Or one thing one of our clients is trying this year is discount. The big thing is subscription, right? Projectable cash flow is king.
Yeah.
But if you can, everyone always does like, hey, save 10% off your subscription, and if you subscribe, but they also give you the ability to unsubscribe whenever you want. So during Q4, what tends to be a big problem is people will subscribe, get the 10% off, and then they'll just bail on it. So instead, what they're doing is they're doing larger discounts, but on set like 6-month subscriptions, annual subscriptions, and trying some of that stuff. So they know that they're okay giving up that product margin, especially if they know they're guaranteed, 6 to 12 orders or however they do it. So, to your point, everyone's really different. It kind of depends on, if you're selling a washing machine or if you're selling something that's like a food that you subscribe to. But um, it's just about changing it up. I think that the other issue becomes too is like if you do like a flat sale, so let's say like, like I said, like a 60% off, like you're in a sea of people that are just offering the same damn thing. So
Hmm.
come Black Friday, Cyber Monday, everyone's emailing everyone, your inbox is filled with a ton of crap and you can't stand out from that. So it's a mix of that, and then it's also the execution of it. I think everyone is sleeping on direct mail. I think it's amazing. Like there's so much competition in the inbox. There's no competition in my mailbox except for the guys who cut my trees. Like they're the only ones that always are
Yeah.
like, I'm in your neighborhood. Like, no, you're not. But the everyone else like there's so much space in the mailbox now because no one's doing it anymore. I love that. I think display ads during big promotions are fantastic. I think that obviously your standard stuff, email, meta, really like I love doing especially like around September, doing big pushes with influencers in July and August. Get a bunch of them together, get them all product, make sure everyone's got what they need, give them plenty of time to make content, but request that they don't post until like mid to late September into October. And just all of a sudden, really boost that kind of like word of mouth and that snowball effect so that come November, I'm solely focused on middle of funnel people, just trying to get them to convert as opposed to like trying to capture net new people, which becomes obnoxiously expensive during Q4. It was a
So
really long winded answer.
no, I mean, no, I'm glad because my next question, like you literally got jumped into my next question right away because I was gonna ask, what should that timeline look like for a lot of these brands, right? Because to your point, it's so busy once end of October, November kind of hits. If you're still focusing on kind of top of the funnel at that point, you're so far away from the
Yeah,
decision
you're
being made, and
screwed.
everyone at that point is getting bombarded. Everyone's getting infinite ads in their Instagram feed. Everyone's gotten 2,000 promotional emails in two
Yeah.
weeks leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and it's impossible to keep track of it all. So I'm glad you brought it up. Like, what does that journey kind of look like so that they're in the consideration phase and you're kind of trying to convert them at that point in kind of early or late October, early November, and then through to, basically Black Friday, Cyber Monday now is basically what mid October to or early October to January, basically more or less
Yeah.
mid
As
January.
soon as pumpkin spice
Yeah.
comes out.
Well, hey, pumpkin spice I think came out like this week, at least in
It
Canada.
did. My
So
wife made sure. The so there's a difference behind what I suggest versus what a lot of brands like to do because I also like to their point. My suggestion is to focus on top of funnel, not solely but pretty significantly in August and September.
Mhm.
Mainly because there's not a lot of competition. A lot of brands pull back in August because people like vacation and stuff, but they're still on their phones wherever they're at. September, you get a lot of brands that are like, all right, let's start planning for Q4. So that's why I usually say, like, in July, I want to start conversations. By the end of August, I want to know what is it we're going to do. And then by the end of September, I want to have the assets done, published, ready to go. Because things come up, stuff pops up, especially for us. It's like, someone still wants to do something last minute. So it makes it hard when everyone wants to do something last minute. But I digress. It's more in August and September, there's significantly more real estate for you to go after. And so because everyone's kind of sleeping on it, it's a great time to do top of funnel because you think like attribution, there's arguments around, different things, but theoretically you could target people for about 180 days, right?
Mhm.
Depends on platforms and how people have privacy set up and whatever, but at the most it's about 180 days. So that's going to put you around that August area. So you could start then, but that's also just on the people that, let's just say, we're focused on just people you've pixeled. That's not people that maybe you got into an email, which is usually what I try to lean on for August and September. And so what I usually suggest doing is kind of like I said with the influencer thing, get them prepped and ready to go. I like to push that as close to like September as I can. But then top of funnel ads in August and September, maybe looking at not only just getting them engaged so I can pixel them because that's my worst case scenario, but best case scenario, like maybe we don't ask them for a purchase. Let's just get their email. Let's give them a gated content. Let's give them a discount code to use it. Like get early access to our Black Friday, Cyber Monday works amazingly. So like we'll do campaigns where we'll generate an email list in like September and then in October and like the first week of November we'll announce what it's going to be to just the people that signed up and we'll give them like a week in advance like to they're going to have a secret code kind of thing. So either way, the top of funnel stuff early so that come November specifically, you can just focus middle of funnel and just retargeting and emailing people you already have in your list. So growing the list, growing your pixeled audience as much as you can prior to that period, because educating people during that time, it's a nightmare. They don't want to. People are really hesitant to make a purchase that they're not comfortable with. So if they've heard about you for months, they're going to be a lot more comfortable than if they're like, "Oh, I just saw this just now." But the problem becomes, like I said, that's what I suggest, but it's not always what happens because I do understand as well. It depends on how the brand did earlier in the year because it's a really tough pill to swallow when I talk to a brand owner and I'm like, hey, you know how August is like your slowest time of the year? Let's take away from your middle of funnel people that are converting and allocate that budget to top of funnel.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Usually
a
a tough pill to
difficult
swallow,
conversation.
but
Yeah, yeah.
it's a pre-investment and it kind of is what it is.
And so when you guys so let's say I'm the client now and I've followed your advice, right? I've started my top of funnel and middle funnel way earlier, and now I'm just working on middle and bottom of funnel kind of during during that core season, right? Uh, a lot of people talk about how your BFCM customers are often your worst customers in a lot of ways because
Hmm.
they're specifically coming in just for the discounts or just for, you know, whatever those arguments are. What should brands be doing to kind of, you know, adjust for that type of consumer that's really just coming for the sales versus coming in because they love the brand and they're going to be back and they're, you know, they're
Yeah.
going to buy even at regular price later on and all these different things.
That depends on the product line, right? Because what I don't entirely agree that they're, if they're a paying customer, they're not your worst customer. But I will say there's a big difference between customer and consumer. And you get more customers during Black Friday, Cyber Monday than you do consumers because it tends to be a gift for someone else. So
Hmm.
what ends up happening is you're not always getting the contact information of the person that actually likes your product. They're giving it to someone else because they know they like it. So that's where you have to figure out a few different options. That's also where I really like to get involved in product inserts because they're going to get the gift. They're going to be physically handed it. They had no interaction with the digital space. So what I have to look at is like, okay, if I have a rewards program, the person I'm about to email about signing up for my rewards program probably isn't going to care because they're not going to come back. The person who's getting the gift is the one who's going to come back during that time. So now I'm thinking like, all right, I should probably create some type of insert for, warehouse to stick into, to pick and pack into the product for them to know about our rewards program. Or then it kind of becomes, you can ask people like, when they check out, is it a gift? And then that kind of gives you opportunity to be like, okay, you should also give them this, this, and this to explain these things. Or I love like warranties are easy for a lot of products. Like a lot of brands, they're like, we don't even have like a true warranty program. We just know that we'll refund the people if they have a problem with the product. So they make like a little card and be like, sign up in case you have any problems and we'll, guarantee a return or whatever, which they're going to do anyway. So they just send
Yeah.
people back to the website so that hopefully they get the contact information of the person who actually received the product. So there's kind of a few different approaches depending on the product to make sure that whoever's actually the end user of the product is the information that you can eventually receive. The other people, if they market as a gift, we usually try to segment them where like I forget, gift givers, I think is what we're calling them. I can't remember. But so they segment them out. And then what we do is we go, okay, we wait X amount of time. Let's try not to annoy them too much because you don't want them to unsubscribe. and then we do some type of like drip campaign or something that is incentivizing them to either provide more information to the person that they got the gift for, or we send them like a really nice promotion that says you can also give this coupon to someone else, and then they can give it back to the
I
other
like that.
person. So like there was a brand, we did this a few years ago and it was really cool. Basically, someone would check out, they would select that it was a gift, so we'd segment them. And then they would get the gift, they'd order it. We had a few other bells and whistles to try to get the other person's contact information. But then in uh it was 30 days later. So I think it was January, maybe it was for Valentine's Day. I can't remember at this point. But then we basically did a campaign called The Gift That Keeps on Giving. And we only reached out to people that filled out for that it was a gift. And we
Hmm.
gave them some pretty nice promotions to get the person another gift during that time. And be like, we know you gifted this last time. Here's a crazy discount to give them for them to come and purchase their next thing, kind of thing.
Cool. Okay. That's an interesting strategy. So we've like the timeline now is okay. So now that you've gotten this customer to purchase your product and you've implemented some types of strategies, hopefully, to get either that person to come back or the person who's receiving the product to kind of come back, right? Um, Now, what's your focus? What happens after that, right? So now we want to get these people to come back more and more and more often. We want them to become a loyal customer. That's, potentially, again, depends on the product line and what they're selling, but coming back multiple times a year, all these different things. What are the different strategies that you're implementing there to kind of get them to become a more loyal customer overall?
Um, I mean, there's countless things you could do. From a Sticking to the email theme, what we really try to do with brands, especially going into the new year kind of thing, is provide more value and worry less about the sale, which sounds ridiculous, but if you look at your automated flows as they're going to trigger at the right time in the right place to the right person based on an action that they took. So they showed some type of interest. Now we want to try to sell them, right? We want to incentivize them to finish what they were doing. Campaigns, your one off, blasting it out to your full list or ideally segmented list. Um, those are more, it doesn't always have to be about the sale. It can be about entertainment. It can be about value. It can be about product education. It can just be incentivize them to have a reason to stay subscribed to you, and so that you can stay in front of them. So when the time is right, then your automation should hopefully in a good place to incentivize them to convert. So it's all about making sure you don't lose them because you worked so hard to gain them. You're not going to win them all, but if you earned 100 new customers in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you lose 10% of them, that's still 90 new customers going into the new year. So people are going to unsubscribe. It's going to happen, but keeping the value and the reason for them to stay subscribed is going to benefit you in the long run. So I like Q4 as like a snowball effect. And then, they're not going to come back every month unless it's a subscription product, or, they're not going to come back as frequently as you'd like them to. But it's keeping them from unsubscribing is the biggest thing. And so many brands just do like I want a weekly email with, we're going to do this promotion this week and this promotion that week. And then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Like, guys, there's no company in the world that I buy from every week. Like, why would you do this? So that's my thought.
And so I think that brings up the broader point around like uh, customer loyalty programs, all of that. I There was this big debate a couple weeks ago that I saw on LinkedIn, and basically, all the different loyalty platforms on Shopify were basically just going at each other. Like, no, my strategy is best. No, my strategy is best. It's loyalty points. No, it's credit. No, it's cashback. No, it's XYZ. Whatever that method is. What have you found around like what the best techniques are for kind of running loyalty programs? What responds best? What do consumers understand more? Because I understand points from all sides, right? Like I understand why brands like doing points because it's abstract in a lot of ways, which means that they can change the value of what those points are. Whereas cashback is a direct, okay, no, you have to give, this amount of cashback. But from the
Mhm.
consumer's perspective, it's nice to know, okay, I have $10 that I can use for going to this product versus points kind of mean nothing to me. It could be anything, right? So, like, I guess what are your takes on it, both from a consumer perspective and obviously from the business's perspective as well?
Ugh. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a cop out answer because it's a typical marketing response, but like it depends. I mean, every brand is very different. Every consumer is very different. I think the problem with rewards programs is just the beginning. I don't think brands understand how hard it is to get them going because what you don't want to do is come out of the gate swinging with a really cool rewards program that you think is the best and blah blah, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done credits, we should have done cashback, or oh, we should
Hmm.
have done like threshold, areas. Like that's where all of a sudden it gets like, then you got to revert back, and so now everyone you had on the first one, they're not happy, and so it's a very, I think it's an incredibly delicate thing that you have to do because the only people that are really going to care are your top customers.
Hmm.
So they're the last ones you want to piss off. So you have to do that thing correctly, or you just come out of the gate and it ends up getting screwed. So once you pick something, it's then when I say deal with it. Like it's, this is what you have. Find ways to make it better. But once you pick your direction, pick your direction. I personally like points only because there's so many companies out there that have done way more research on this than I ever will. And you look at any company out there, you look at like a Starbucks or a Dunkin', like all the coffee companies, they all do point systems. Or you look at
Hmm.
like fast food companies, they all do point systems. And yeah, you do have the ability to change the point system, but typically what ends up happening is they change pricing of the menu and then that's it. But it's usually pretty straightforward of, you spend $10, you get $1 worth of points and like every penny is a point or whatever. Like you can do it however you want, but then you give them tiers of like, once you hit this, you could get this, or once you hit that, you could get that. And then some companies they do like separate like lifetime. So like you have your points and you can spend your points however you'd like, but once you've spent X amount of money with us over the lifetime, you then are an X customer and you can get free shipping, you can get this, you can get that. So I think there's a way to do a little bit of both there so
Hmm.
that they don't feel like every time I spend my points, I'm starting all over again. But that's usually my thought on it.
How, so you brought up a good point. Like it really depends on the business and, a bunch of different factors. How should brands evaluate what type of loyalty program they should set up and how they should set it up and all these different factors? Because it's this super weird unknown where like you're just jumping in and you're just going to be making a whole bunch of assumptions on your customer, you know, what type, like, how do you decide, okay, I'm gonna, if you spend $100, you're in this tier, but then if you spend $1,000, you're in this tier, whatever. Like, how do you recommend companies go about that process for assessing like how they want to set up a loyalty program to begin with?
The lack of market research brands do with their own customers blows my mind. Your top customers want to be known as your top customer. They're evangelists. So they want to help you and they want to know that they're going to get treated like that. Ask them. Just ask them. You probably have, if you've got it set up correctly, you've got like a best customer campaign or something like that set up in whatever email platform you're using. So segment out that audience, shoot them all an email that looks personalized. Like even if you just export them and put them into a regular, like just BCC them all or however you want to do it and make it very professional and make it like, hey, this is, so and so. I'm the founder here at, so company. We're thinking about rolling out a loyalty program, and we'd love your thoughts on it. I've created a quick little survey for you here. One of the reasons we're asking you is that you are one of our top customers. We really appreciate all of your time. So I do want to make sure that we, make sure that we do provide value for your time. So
Yeah, do right
I'm
by
trying
you,
to,
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So like
yeah.
incentivize them, give them like, hey, we're gonna toss you a $10 gift card or something. They answer 5 questions or whatever. But like, just fine, just ask them. They're literally your best customers. They're the people that are gonna use it. So just ask them,
Mhm.
give them an incentive. There you go. You just got an order out of it, and now you know, like, oh, 80% of them like points. Let's do points, and then problem solved. You move on.
And what's your take on how loyalty programs work? Because there's always this argument of incrementality, right? It's like, oh, I can launch a loyalty program, but my top customers are already my top customers, and they're already going to buy from me. And then all the people, all
I
the other 80% or something like that, they don't care about the loyalty program. They're never gonna use it, or it becomes unused. Like, what's your take on all of it?
Oh man, this one's hitting a soft spot. I have a brand we're working with right now and love them to death, but God, it's one of those problems with founders that think that everything that they put out is perfect.
Hmm.
They're your best customer and they're going to keep coming back. And like my customers, they always come back because our product is so perfect and blah, blah, like BS. One day you'll start losing them. They will
Hmm.
find a reason to go elsewhere. You have to continue to find ways to keep them coming back. Yes, you're absolutely right. They're going to keep coming back for months on end, and then maybe one day they decide not to. But what you don't know is if you put a loyalty program together and all of a sudden they become stuck, right? Like I give you a clear example. There's like supplement. How many freaking supplement companies are there? Right, billions of them. There's one that I specifically shop with all the time because I've got a loyalty program with them. And every time I make a purchase, it just so happens that I get just enough points so that my next purchase, I now have hit a tier. And so, okay, I got it. So it's like every 1.5 purchases, I'm getting something out of it. And I go, okay, I see how you're forcing me to just keep coming back because then I feel like I'm wasting money. If I don't go
Hmm.
back to them, I have all these points just sitting there. So it's a great way to just keep me coming back. And how many? There's probably been 10 supplement companies launched since you and I started this episode. So like, there's new ones all the time, and I'm
Yep.
not even looking at them anymore because I know like I'm stuck in their damn loyalty program. So like, you're gonna lose people. The ignorance to think that your product is flawless and that your customers are just going to keep coming back is ridiculous to me.
And so that brings up the bigger conversation. How do you convince these people? And this is actually more of an
Uh-huh.
answer for me, because this is the exact same thing. Like, how do you make that case to them without telling them your product isn't as great as you think it is, and therefore, like, how do you actually pitch that to the clients? That
You ever tell someone who's paying you on a regular basis that their product's really not that great? It doesn't go that well.
doesn't, I would assume
Um,
not. No.
it it is a delicate thing. It is more of a eh, I would say it's more of like a defensive measure, right? I try to look
Hmm.
at it from a defensive side. Like, look, you're absolutely right. Your product is people do keep coming back. They always come back, and that's very true. But let's look at the data, right? Here's how many customers have purchased. You have a sales cycle of 90 days, right? So they come back at least every 3 months. So let's ignore the past 3 months. Let's look at all of your customers from prior to that period, right? You had 1,000 customers. Well, only 200 of them purchased more than once. So that tells me that only 20% actually continue to come back. So while it's a great 20%, we want to grow that 20%. It's going to be a problem if we start losing that 20%. Then you
Hmm.
look at how frequently do they come back? Like, well, guess what? That 20%, the ones that did come back and purchase more than once, they actually, while they did purchase more than once, on average, they purchased 3.5 times. So that means your net new customers, every 5 customers you get, only one of them will actually come back and purchase, and they're only going to do it for three more purchases, and then they're gone. So why don't we put an incentive together to see what we can do to increase that number? So it's showing them the data, but honestly, like I'm sure you know just as well, like you can show everyone any data, and data can tell you whatever you need it to tell them, and so they'll make their decision in the long run.
Yeah. So basically, you're pitching it as defending your revenue versus looking at it as more of a growth channel in a way. Like, okay, we want to make sure that this cohort of customers consistently comes back because this is the base foundation of our business. We're not
Mhm.
spending money on advertising to them. We're not spending additional money on ads, acquiring them at $20 a click or whatever, the cost is there. You're basically just saying, okay, we want to defend this. This is our core. This is like if we lose these guys, we're screwed. Let's focus on these guys and optimize for these guys. And then, if the other 80% of people don't want to be in the loyalty program, that's fine. But I want to keep these guys at, at the highest end. And then at the, lower end, maybe some of these people that are in that bottom 80%, they
Mhm.
become, they start buying more and more. They make the second purchase, that third purchase. And then obviously, like you said, the people that have purchased 4 or 5 times, how do we get that to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
etc. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. The most important metric in my mind that most, and I mean like 95% of brands don't seem to focus on, is lifetime value. They're
Mm,
all so focused on what did I profit on that one purchase. But you're severely hindering yourself from scaling at a really nice pace as soon as you know that number, right? Because they look at, uh, try to keep it basic math. My average order value is $100. I have a, I don't know, 50% product margin. Not great, but fine. So it's $50. And then it costs me $25 to acquire a customer. I make $25 on that $100. And I need to be at that $25 product margin. Cool. But if you told me that over the course of 2 years, the average customer spends $1,000, I will spend $200 to acquire a customer because those margins make sense and the cash in my pocket is actually significantly higher on a per customer basis. So I think that the target customer acquisition cost needs to be painted by the lifetime value. Now, lifetime value is a very tricky number because you don't want to look at like the literal lifetime. You don't want to be like, all right, I had a customer that shopped with me 10 years ago. Here's how much they spent. Like, no, 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 that's
mhm.
way too long. You're not going to live. That's not going to happen. You got to look at like how often do they come back, like every 2, maybe every 3 years. Some products maybe every year, and then evaluate what's the lifetime value so you can really decipher what your target customer acquisition cost is. And then when you sit down and you talk to a brand about implementing a rewards program, you look at what is the lifetime value and what is the frequency that they purchase. Those are the numbers that we're trying to improve with a loyalty program. Otherwise, like you're not going to bring in a lot of net new people. I'm not shopping somewhere because they have a loyalty program. I'm
Yeah.
shopping somewhere because I want to buy it. I'll sign up your loyalty program probably when I've come back several times. And then I'll be like, you know what? If I'm going to keep buying this, I might as well get points for it. But not it's rarely going to happen on a first time purchase.
So we have a few minutes left here, and I think like the one other big topic that I wanted to kind of cover, and this is something everybody's talking about right now. It's like how AI is impacting e-commerce right now, right? And in a lot of ways, it still hasn't, and in a lot of ways, it really has. And then there's all the future talks about agentic commerce, and obviously everyone's implementing these AI chatbots on their websites now, so people can kind of just talk to the website like they would with Chat GPT. Has implemented Rufus, all these different AI tools that are kind of being implemented. What have you seen so far that's actually working, that's actually been effective from an AI standpoint, if anything?
I think that, and it's not just our industry, it's all of them, but I think that our industry is extremely guilty of being so deep in it that we totally forget what it's like to be an average consumer,
Mhm.
right? Like we use AI all the time, right? You ask ChatGPT something, or you have it help you out with reports or something like you're using a bunch of different stuff for your business, for your job. But when you're an average consumer, right? You're there's no way you're getting anyone in like the Midwest to be like, oh, I'll just chat GPT my next order. Like it's not happening. So the problem is the average consumer's adoption to it, not the business side of it. On the back end, right? So let's say everything we're doing is back end work, right? Because the front end is the consumer side. So everything on the back end, yeah, very different. It should have an effect on everyone's business. You should be using it. It's
Mhm.
stupid easy. And you could teach it to be smarter. So like it's probably one of your best employees, right? Like you could teach it to make help you with reports. It can remind you of stuff. It's like a great little assistant. It's awesome. Then you have all the other ones that are getting rolled out that are front facing. Those are the ones like you talked about, like the Rufus and things like that. I I will guarantee you, most people that shop on Amazon have no idea what Rufus is. Only
Yeah.
people that sell on Amazon have an idea what Rufus is. And so like everyone's obsessed with it because it's a new thing and it's come out and it's great. And look, I have a feeling, you know, probably part of Gen Z, but definitely the generation behind them, they're going to adopt AI for their own lives, probably a lot more than we are currently. But that's also thinking like, okay, do I really want to hop on a train that's really not going to have an effect for like 15, 20 years? You probably do, but I don't need to put all my eggs in one basket. I got to keep an eye on the people that I'm currently trying to sell to. So I think there's pros and there's cons to it. I know a lot of people that absolutely hate the idea of using AI, like consumers that are just like the like having I don't want to say its name because it'll go off. I don't have Alexa, so having like an Alexa in your house, I have the G one.
Yeah.
Having an Alexa in your house, like there's people that are like, I don't want that. It's going to be listening to me. It's telling the
Mhm.
government stuff. Like you get those types of people. They're not using ChatGPT. They're not using
Yeah.
AI. So I love it for back end. Front end, like forcing a consumer to use it, you got to ease up. I think that it's a nice to have, and it could make life a little bit easier in certain scenarios to help people find things, especially for like really large product lines. But like after that, like you got to calm down a little bit because you're gonna piss off some of your consumers.
Makes complete sense. Like I think that that's kind of all the time we have. But Andrew, man, I really appreciate it. I got some good little tidbits that I'm gonna take away myself here. I
Thanks for
guess
having me.
to finish it off, like why don't you give a couple shout outs, you know, where people can find you, what they should take a look at, why they should reach out to you, what you guys focus on. Give the pitch to everyone.
Yeah, bluetusker.com, BLUETUSKR. Any social media channel at Blue Tusker, or if you want to come directly to me, it's just Andrew Maff, MAFF, at whatever channel you want. But yeah, full service marketing firm. We do this stuff all day, and always happy to chat with people and at least provide some insight.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.